We're Kyler and Cody McCormick, two brothers on a journey to pave our own path while chasing our passion.
While building our adventure filmmaking brand, The Outbound Life, we become sponsored by some of the top brands in the film and travel industries, acquired Fortune 500 clients, and have spoken on stages all across the country sharing our story.
We now invite you along on our journey as we sit down with inspiring entrepreneurs, creators, and diverse thought leaders to discuss how to live a life we consider outbound, a life where you believe your story matters and live beyond your limits.
Come along and live the outbound life.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are sitting down right now with an absolute icon, with somebody that was a name we grew up hearing always in the house in a racing household. And if you know anything about racing, you know that there is no bigger name in the sport of racing than Mario Andretti. Now, considered by many to be the greatest race car driver in the history of the sport, he's often listed among legends like Muhammad Ali and Michael Jordan. His achievements became legendary. The world watched as he won the Daytona 500, the Indianapolis 500, and ultimately the Formula One World Championship, an unprecedented trifecta. No other race car driver has ever won all three titles. Mario took the checkered flag 111 times during his career, a career that stretched 5 decades and across 6 continents. He was named Driver of the Century. He was knighted by his native Italy, and the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C. added him to its Living Legends list. You may recognize his name and voice from the Pixar movie Cars, or from GQ magazine, where he was named one of the 25 coolest athletes of all time. Please welcome the greatest race car driver of all time, Mr. Mario Andretti.
Hi guys, Kyler, Cody, thanks for having me. Man, you guys are crazy.
Why do you say that?
I was looking at all the stuff that you guys do. I said, oh my God, no way.
Well, yeah. Mario, it's mutual. I mean, certainly we think you're crazy. Just all the things you've done. I mean, that blows any mountain experience we've done out of the water.
We just dabble in it. To us, it's calculated risks, which I'm sure is the same for you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's you keep telling yourself, yeah. That's why people say you're crazy. No, it's a calculated risk.
Right.
That's how we justify it, right? And we're like, I think
exactly,
calculation works out, but I guess we'll see.
And we know how to calculate, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Try to. Yeah.
I wasn't a star math student, but I do my best. Yeah. So are you in Nazareth today?
I'm at home, yes.
You're at home.
Okay. Awesome.
Home office.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to jump on with us. We're so excited about this. And I know you've had a chance to kind of get to know our dad over the last year. We certainly have learned a ton of business through our dad, and he's been our biggest business mentor.
Say hello to your dad. Say hello to your dad for me, okay?
Absolutely.
Yes. And we have one older brother.
Yep, his name's Keaton.
Who is in racing, has done a lot of karting and...
Yeah, he's done some racing schools at places like Laguna Seca and Lime Rock. So we've always sort of been around racing, but it was never really the focus of Cody and I.
Yeah, this is going to be really fun to kind of dive into your story, because I think from our perspective, there's some things that really stand out. You're a family man. You're a businessman. You're extremely driven. You've had the most successful racing career of all time, and these are things that don't just happen by chance. There's a lot of effort that go into performing at such a level. There's a lot of effort that goes into, being a good dad and being a good family member and having a family that loves each other and all of that. And I think there's a lot of fun things that Kyler and I are going to get to dive into here. I just kind of wanted to start it out because I think a lot of people know your name, but they might not necessarily know some of your beginnings. And one thing I wanted to note is you were actually a refugee from Italy that lived in a post-World War II refugee camp for 8 years. I'm curious, with that being part of the start of you, how did being a refugee, how did that frame your view on life?
Well, that's an interesting question, actually. As a young lad, like with my twin brother Aldo and his kids, the one thing we knew that things were not normal. You could see. I was born when the World War II broke out, 1940. And I knew of nothing but war until the end of it. And then at the end of it, we became displaced from our native land because after the Paris Pact, it was that area was ceded to Yugoslavia, to hardline communism. So the choice was to succumb to that communism or leave. And my dad, like thousands and thousands of other families, did exactly that. And then we, as you said, we were refugees in our own country for 7.5, 8 years. And again, but from a standpoint of us kids, somehow as kids you adapt. And what I'm saying is, we went to school at home. We went to school when we were in a refugee camp, and we you have friends. You just do the normal thing kids do. We play, the soccer, and there was a wonderful chaplain, a priest that took interest, in a group. And I was, an altar boy for many years, and among others with us, some of the other friends. But he kept us occupied, with a lot of activities and things. So again, to go back to that, as kids, you adapt. But going back to how do we grow a passion for something? You do that. I mean, as a kid, I always say you're allowed to dream. And, the sport of motor racing captured my imagination and my brothers, as like I said, as twins, are pretty much my brother Aldo. We pursue, or some of the ideas were, just combined, if you will. And again, Italy being so prominent in the sport in the 50s, at the beginning of official Formula One, with three iconic brands like Alfa Romeo, Maserati, and Ferrari involved, and the first world champions were Italian. Nino Farina was the first one, and then Alberto Ascari. Ascari is the one that was more my contemporary, if you will. Yeah. And so anyway, you just you're captivated by all of that, and then then you start dreaming. I want to emulate my idol. That's how it all started. But at the same time, you look around where you are, and maybe you don't think as much about the future, like how is this ever going to happen? But you're still allowed to dream, and that's really what it was. And things progress, and then, I don't know if you want to go on. When my dad made a decision, he was suggested by an uncle that we had in the States to come to America maybe. And so he applied for visas in 1952. 3 years later, visas came through, decision time. And Dad said, well, we're going to America. I said this a million times. We're going to America for 5 years, and then maybe come back.
That was the plan, huh?
Yeah, that was the plan. But when we came to America, we found out, Aldo and I, was in June 1955. And on a Thursday, by Sunday, we found out there was a racetrack nearby. And something very, very different that what we had been following in Italy. They didn't have Saturday night dirt track racing there, but and we became familiar with that, and that's it. The rest is history. We just pursued it.
So that was the spark of kind of getting exposed to racing, especially when you came over to the U.S., seeing Alberto Ascari or hearing about him, and then didn't you have an experience where you saw him race in Monza? That was before coming over, correct?
Yes. Yeah. The year before we came over in 1954, some friends took Aldo and I to the Italian Grand Prix, and that was just amazing just to see my idol firsthand, to see him perform, in a Ferrari. He didn't win that day, but he fought hard, against the Mercedes teams with Fangio, Kling. And anyway, but and that's really when the dream itself just was cemented in us. I always say that we said the mold was cast at that point, and from that point, in our own mind, there was never a plan B. We're going to pursue this somehow. But America, I think, provided that opportunity, no question. I said this again a million times, that coming to America and seeing what developed for us and for myself, we're a perfect example of the American dream, really, for immigrants. And everything that happened to me could not have happened any other way. And so again, there's nothing like having all of a sudden a channel says, this is possible. Right. I said, okay, what do we do? All right, we'll build our own. And look, when I saw that first race in Nazareth, actually we were peeking through the fence there, and we see those brute-looking stock cars, and said, you know what? They don't look like a Formula One car, but it looks doable. And 2 years after that, at age 17, we started building our own car. And with 4 other buddies and so forth, we just put all our efforts together, and we built a car that was supposed to be ready by the time we were 21, because that's when it was. In those days, it was legal to race. You had to be 21 to race legally. Okay. And, because insurance and whatever. But the car was ready at 19. And
when you were 19.
We were 19. So we
that doesn't add up.
We're not going to wait. And so we had a local editor of the newspaper, the Nazareth Key. Yeah. We asked him to do something with the birth date on our license. He did a great job. I keep saying, in those days I had no computer, so right. So you couldn't really trace it very easily. And we started racing. My career started at age 19, and my last professional race was at 24 Hours of Le Mans in 2000.
Right. That's unbelievable. And yeah, Mario, you said it well when you just talk about your story being such a prime example of the American dream. Like, I couldn't think of a more perfect example of just coming to America and overcoming all these obstacles and not stopping until you just continue to have more and more and more success. And something I admire about you and your brother Aldo so much, especially in these early days when you're talking about just kind of like finding a way in, finding a way to get into racing, which was just like, seems like it was the only interesting thing to you guys in the world and your passion. But I want to time travel back to that very first race that you guys entered at the Nazareth Speedway. And if I understand correctly, you found a really creative way in. You were questioned, they were asking why they should let you race, and you had a really creative answer as to why they should let you race. Could you tell us about that?
Well, yeah, of course, people that they felt, okay, these 2 young kids from Italy, they don't really look like they're old enough, but we had to sort of create this aura that we have experience. And we came up with the story that we raced in Italy. And to play the part better, Aldo and I both bought 2 race suits from Italy, Sala Sport. They had nice suits, that the represented. Mine was white, his was blue, and all that. And because not some of the other drivers that they were competing there, they didn't look very professional. They didn't have a driving suit on, a T-shirt and whatever. And so we said we should race Formula Junior in Italy, in Ancona, and because actually that had been happening,
Yeah.
in Italy, and but obviously we were not part of it. But here again, there was not easy to check all those things. And anyway, so that's a story that stuck with me. Even there was
Yeah.
I think this past week I had an interview where that story came up, and I didn't even I didn't play it down. I just let it go, but that story stayed with me, for years, but, oh yeah, the kids raced in Italy, and that's what got us through, and then Aldo, he won the toss. It was, I keep saying, one car, two drivers, and he won the first race. He won the qualifying heat.
Incredible.
And he won the race. So we backed up the story with with some luck.
You actually have the chops to do it.
Yeah.
You're like, look,
we've been doing it forever.
We do this. So like when I hear that story, I think of some sayings like "fake it till you make it," or "when there's a will, there's a way." And it's, I think that applies so much in life where you don't start out at the top. You got to get there somehow. And for you guys, you came up with this backstory that, sold your way into where you needed to be. And then obviously Aldo had the clutch win of that race. But like, how do you, okay, so truly, if you go back to that moment, you guys didn't have the success to really empower confidence to like go and pull that off to get into the race. How did you get yourself, you and Aldo, how did you guys come up together with enough confidence to go, we're going to wear these professional looking race suits, we're going to tell them this story that's not necessarily true, and carry on with it? How did you build up enough confidence to do that?
Well, Cody, it starts with burning desire. That's how it starts. Desire and passion, and you feel, you know what? This is the opportunity. Don't mess it up.
Yeah.
Make the most of it. And but the fact that you feel so privileged, so thankful that you're at least at that point, where you're given that opportunity to perform. It's what you've been dreaming. It's what you've been working for. But you go in there, you don't say, you don't dwell on the potential negative. You think positive, gotta make it, gotta do, because you know what? Because I'm loving it. I'm loving being in this position. And the rest takes care of itself, quite honestly. I remember that, the following weekend, it was pressure on me because Aldo had won, and then it was my turn to go. Yeah. And, but I should have been really nervous, which I was. Yeah. But I was also, could hardly wait, to have my turn at it. Yeah. And I did it, and it worked for me as well. I mean, we continued on, we crashed, we won, we lost, we did all those things, that happened. But at the same time, that auspicious beginning gave us so much encouragement. And as you say, once you feel, oh, you know what, I did it, at least that day, and then confidence starts applying. Right. And so when you have some confidence and you have desire, passion, these are all the elements, that it takes to say, oh, God bless, the opportunity, and on and on. You embrace it in every way. Yeah. And you work hard, you work harder, because, the following week you didn't win. You know what? Then you just got to keep working. And along the way, that's what makes you a better driver or better individual. When you go up against competition that's tough, there's always someone better than you somewhere, no matter what you pursue in life. But if you have that ambition, to not just be mediocre and be happy with that, then you're lost. But you just keep dreaming. I always always dreamt big, and along the way, I can tell you, even when I got into midgets, there was a great weekend that I had where I was getting ready to get pushed off for the third feature of the day, and I had won everything up to that point. And what was I thinking about? And I said this so many times, why? But what was I thinking about? I was thinking about Dan Gurney, who had just got his first break a ride in Formula One with Ferrari.
Okay.
Wow.
And I said, oh my God, here I'm in a midget on a dirt track in Hatfield, Pennsylvania, third mile dirt track. And I'm thinking Formula One, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's where all my mindset was, it's just way, way beyond even then. And again, you're allowed to dream, and you're never going to get there unless you dream big. So that's the way I was driven in my way of living life at that point, because all along, I mean, to today, I feel that I'm living a dream. Because that's the way I look at life, with the glass always being half full, and
that's amazing.
This is something that I even learned so much even from my brother, because he was not as fortunate as I was. He had there were two accidents within 10 years. One beginning with the very last race or the first season that determined his career. He was out of racing. He had the same passion as me, but something, he never ever looked back and said, why am I so unlucky or so long? No, he took another direction in his life, and he was happy with that, and he was happy with living through his dream through me.
Right.
And you could always express joy, absolute joy, whenever I had a successful weekend, a successful race, and not envy, joy, pure joy. And I say, what a way to live your life, and whatever's thrown at you, you try to stay on the positive side, and there's something to be learned from that.
Where do you think where do you think Aldo picked that up? Like the ability to not just, especially after Aldo's bad crash, and then having a career that doesn't pan out the same as yours. Your career continued to excel, and you kept just getting to the top of everything you were racing, and Aldo didn't necessarily have that same career. How, like, as a brother dynamic, how did you guys work that through? Obviously, you're sharing Aldo had this still this encouraged mindset, and he was excited for you. Like, did that come from your parents? Did you see that around you from other, mentor figures? Or how do you think you both had that outlook?
Well, Cody, if I had that formula, I would bottle it and sell it. It's just it's either in your character or it's not. It's how you look at things, and a lot has to do, I suppose, from how you brought up. I always, whenever you reflect on things, I always look at my dad, for instance, the responsibilities that he had with the family and so forth. Something, when we were in refugee camp, as kids, we were well dressed. We were never cold. We were never hungry. Why? Because under any circumstance, my dad provided, and that's positive. He never really cried, and said, well, we're really in bad shape. Or no, he just, I think he portrayed things probably in a most positive way. I had my sister also, Anna Maria, being 6 years older. She was obviously, much more mature even early on. She was one that, even when the news about going to America as kids, we were thinking, oh my goodness, we're going to America. We want to be race drivers. We were thinking in that, that limited area, like I said, oh, maybe, the racing won't be like it is here. And yet, but she was jovial. And I remember when we were sailing with the Conte Biancamano just by the Statue of Liberty on this beautiful June day, 5 a.m, sunshine. She was out there singing the American national anthem. They said, we're going to see New York, all the skyscrapers. There was something there. So out of nothing, you make something, you think positive, and, maybe that's how it worked for us in that sense.
Yeah.
But, like I said, Aldo himself, I could not have pictured myself being in his position, quite honestly, and being as positive as him. So that's why I figure, I have something to learn here too. We didn't talk about it. We didn't talk about any of this. This is all just, it happened. And I never really started realizing this until later on. I said, here I am, we're in Victory Circle. He's smiling ear to ear, happy. I mean, truly, I figure, that's a good kid, my brother and all that. And instead of feeling, oh, well, my brother is so lucky and I'm so unlucky, it could have been just that way, but it wasn't. And all of that actually made me feel good. Otherwise, in some ways, I might have felt even guilty. Why am I, so fortunate to be able to continue my career, my passions, and he's not. But he never, never gave me that kind of reason, to be thinking those terms. So again, all of that is good stuff, and there's so many things that, happening along your life. You're so busy, you just pursue. And it's not until later on when you start reflecting on things that you figure, oh my goodness, was I so fortunate to have this and that, the support, just like the support I had from my own wife. I mean, just a quiet, not, saying, oh man, I'm glad you're doing, no, never had it say anything. Yeah. But it didn't say anything like to make me feel guilty either. Like, oh, you know what, can you spend some more time with us, with me and the kids, maybe, maybe you don't have to race every weekend and all that. No, none of that. And I think she had every right to potentially say that, because when you're pursuing something the way I was, I was, I realized how selfish I was, really. But at the same time, I feel proud in the sense that it really kept the family together anyway, even throughout all that. We tried very hard to bring the family to all the races, the kids. I mean, they were little toddlers, just playing in the mud at the racetrack.
Cool.
But again, all of these things. I felt that I tried hard because I wanted the family to be with me, and as we grew, I think everything pretty much worked for us. And as a family, even my brother's side of the family was today. We even social media. We just we text each other. We are the crazy Andrettis. We know what everybody's doing every single day, what up and down, and the kids and all that. And so again, and this is good stuff for us.
Yeah. Wow. That's really powerful to hear. And I think certainly from our perspective, one of the most just cool parts of your story is how this has been such a family, a multi-generational family passion. Multiple generations have been in the racing business. You guys have a winery. It just seems like you are so close. And I love how this has always been, it's been about family. And on that topic, Mario, I know that over the last few years, you've really had to deal with some very tough losses. The loss of your wife, your sister, your brother, your nephew. It's just, I can't even imagine over all lumped in these last few years. how have you come to terms with just the grief and this, quite frankly, really difficult season?
It's hard to even explain that. I mean, it's the people and they were closest to me, closest to my heart, basically as close as anyone, I should say, are gone. Yeah. It's just, it's part of life that you have to accept and just keep thinking, we're going to see you, we're going to see you sometime when it's my time. And that's the only way to say it. I guess God has a plan for us and for each individual. And it's hard to understand sometimes, but that's the way it is. That's the way life is. I just grief, for my brother, for my wife, every single day when I think about it. But I must go on, and I'm sure that I would be encouraged. Hang in there as long as you're given the opportunity, and that's it. That's all you got.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned how, your faith in God has been like a bedrock, I guess, to how you deal with some of these losses. And I'm curious on that topic, how has your faith in God played a role in your life?
Immensely, no question about it. I knew what I was up against, every time I'm in that race car and so forth, and I always look up there, and it was my uncle Priest, and I know he was looking after me. I think he slipped up a little bit, Ronaldo, I think, but nevertheless, he's forgiven for that. But you can't do any of these things alone. Somewhere along the line, I felt, and I still feel that there's a reason why I've just been saved, been helped, been spared, if you will. I know how many bullets I was able to kind of miss out on throughout my career. But there's a reason why I was able to do it, to avoid all that. So
well, and your life, we were talking before we jumped on that there's so much inherent risk with this sport. People outside of the sport would look at a race car driver and be like, wow, that person is taking lots and lots of risk day in and day out. How did you, how did you stay in that zone, watching friends die in races, seeing bad accidents? How did you keep yourself going back for that? Obviously, you talk about this pure desire, but how do you justify that risk?
Well, it's a tough one. And when you think about it, the first thing you do, you don't dwell on that. You don't dwell on the negatives. But it's pure desire, like you said, that keeps you going, keeps you driving, because there's not a thing in this world that deterred me. When Aldo was laying in the hospital after the first, his accident at the end of the season, what was I whispering to him? He'd been in a coma for a long time. I said, Aldo, I'm building, which I was. I was already building the car for the following year. I said, just get well quick, man, because I'm building a car for next year. And there he was laying and in a coma, and again, the sport can be cruel. It was cruel to my younger son Jeff, and Michael was the one that was like me. He dodged the bullets, for whatever reason, and so these are the things that you cannot explain. And if you dwell on that, you're going to be a danger to yourself anyway. I mean, I suppose some people would say, well, you got to be crazy or something. Maybe so. But my desire, my passion is for real. And I went in there with my eyes wide open. I felt that if I would have quit, or they never even thought once, of giving it up. But later on, when you reflect on it, if I would have thought about it, my life would have been just pure misery. Because it would have been what if. Yeah. So I did not allow that to deter us. As you know what, I was just relying on some divine providence, to carry me through. And so I'm going to do this. And like I said, I just, there was no death wish in there or anything like that. Believe me. I wanted to race another day. And, and I was, again, fortunate as you could be. I raced I think it was officially 876 races, but there were like 46 that we didn't count in that because they were unsanctioned. Wow. And again, and I only missed 2 races because of injury throughout my career. Wow. And I mean, do I know how fortunate I've been? You're darn right. Yeah. Do I take it for granted? No. And again, I always say, hey, I have reason to count my blessings every day.
Yeah. Wow. That's incredible. And Mario, actually on that topic of counting your blessings, word on the street is there is a toast in the Andretti household that comes up around the holidays. I heard that you guys say something about the dictator of Yugoslavia, something along the lines of "Here's to Tito." Was it?
I've said this many times. I said as bad as the situation was for us, but I said we should have had Tito on our Christmas list, for creating what he did for us, because otherwise we would not be in America. So here's a tremendous negative that became a positive. That's all I can say. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's looking at that's just such a theme that runs through your life, is this optimism, and I love how you can look back at the.
But I've seen there's so many negatives somehow flip into positive if you reflect on it. You know what? There's always reason to be positive. Always reason to look at things, in that way, because there's that chance, and I'll be ready to just pounce on it.
Yeah. So Mario, speaking about some of these negatives that come, and certainly when people think of your name and your legacy, they think of all the championship wins and just winning in general. But I would love to hear on that other side about maybe a failure or a perceived failure that down the road led to some form of success.
Well, the old saying, unless you learn from mistakes, you just somewhere lost. So what you try to do, not every decision is going to be a good decision. Right. But you learn from that. You figure, you know what, I'm not going to repeat that. And just even the people that you surround yourself with and all that, you learn, to say, if you build a team, don't accept anything less than the very best around you and everything else. And, and at least people that have the same mentality. There's so many factors, even in business, we delved in several business ventures and some of it because of these reasons, because we didn't really put enough emphasis in some of this excellence that needs to be in different key areas. And I said, well, you learn from that potential failure, and then next time you don't repeat it. You just you keep that emphasis where it should be, and then all of a sudden things work. There's some of the business that we have going right now have been extremely positive, but everything is challenging, and that's really that's what creates, that sometimes that's why you want to, those challenges are something that you sometimes you look forward to, because it makes you really it digs into you, and
grit. Yeah,
sometimes it brings the best to you, because you put a lot of effort into it, and that's it. But as far as looking at how and why things succeed, everything is like what I learned from the makeup of a team in racing. Whenever something is successful, it's successful the same way in business. The same formula applies to business. And that is what I said, I keep repeating. Surround yourself with the best people possible that specifically specialize in that specific area. And when you do that, your chances of success are very, very good.
So on this, you're mentioning business and how I know in your later years that's been a real big focus, is diving more into business now that the racing career, you've kind of phased on from that. Obviously, racing, for those that don't know, racing is this big hub of business. Like, sponsors get involved. They put their logos on cars. There's so much business that gets done around racing. There's networking, there's deals that get made. There's important people from businesses that come and fill those press boxes and have those meetings, and that's a way to entertain clients, all that kind of stuff. It's this big hub of business. Do you enjoy the art of business, or what? Do you have passion in business? Can you explain that a little bit?
Well, yes, but there's a different passion. Like if we're just talking the racing part, I can tell you that there's, for instance, a big difference between my son Michael and myself. We always, racing for us was always a business, because that's how I fed my family. That's how I made a living, and that's basically the only work that I did in my professional life. So it is a business. The people that buy the ticket and so forth, that's the sport. That's any sport, by the way. The ones involved, it's a business. It's the challenges and passion and desire all plays, but it's still a business. Yeah. And but then there's the other side of business, as you said, in racing. That I'm so captured, into the driving side that I never ventured into the business side of owning a team. I owned a team one season in 1968, for one season, because the principal, the owner of the team, passed away at the end of the season, after the end of the season, and I wanted to keep it all together. And I am the only one that had the means to do that. But I only did it for one season, because I didn't want to, as you said, to worry about sponsors. How do we do this? How do we do that? What do I pay the guy that's on my right front? Do I pay him more than the guy on the left front? Because it's more important, right? Things like that. So. But my son, Michael, embraced that. In fact, he came out of the cockpit when he was at the very top, of his game. He was only 42 years old. And now he thrives on just investing and being part of so many disciplines. He's got teams like Australia, Europe. Australia got super cars. He got in Europe. He's got Formula E. Wow. He's pursuing potential purchase of a Formula One team, and here in America is here he had about 6, 7. He's in rally, in extreme rally. He's got Indy Lights. and all that. I mean, you name it. I look up on the border so that Michael has his fingers in it, and he thrives in that. So again, it's whatever melts your butter, the way I see it. But you know, still, as you talk about business, we still have outside businesses. You know, we have a petroleum business along the West Coast, and also the Andretti Cardigan Games. It's something that my nephew John started with a partner that is managing partner right now in that business, and that is growing. But it's, you know, it's indoor go-karts plus other, you know, games, and we got restaurants in there. We got, you know, pretty much even bowling, anything you want, you know.
Wow.
You know, and we're in Georgia, we're in Florida, we're in Texas right now. But again, these are all business somewhat connected, if you will, with the sport, because you know, we had these go-karts are state-of-the-art, fabulous go-kart. We have a push to pass in those go-karts, and you know, in some of our venues we have 3 elevated, 3 tracks. You know, they can be connected all into one. You know, if you have some competition, but again, all this, and all these things are very challenging. But here again, the best people you could find to be able to operate these businesses, and look back, and I'm proud of everything that's going on. You know, and I'm part of you know, a lot of the decisions, but at the same time we have the right people that carry it on a daily basis.
Well, I like hearing how you can have one core activity or sport, which is racing, but have all these different people that have a different they're passionate about a different side of that. So for instance, your son Michael is really thriving on the business side, loved racing, but also really likes running the logistical business side. And that reminds me a lot of Kyler and my dynamic. Kyler grew up always running around with a camera, and he was this storyteller and always had this, in your terms, a pure desire for storytelling. And I, in a similar way, had more of a pure desire for business. I was always looking at things from, you know, more of this business perspective. And that's what allowed, I think, Kyler and I to be this great team, where I'm very passionate about storytelling, but I'm probably more passionate about the business side. But coming together as a team, that I think empowers us to have kind of different facets and be able to move forward, because we're not just one-sided.
Well, that's what gives you strength. You know, my publicist always says, you know, if we have 4 people in a meeting, everyone is thinking and going after the same thing, maybe 3 of them are not necessary. So it's good to have, different points of view, different the objectives, different, you know, that's what, like you said, that's what makes it a strong team. You know, everyone, all of us, you know, we have a specialty, you know, like I told you about Aldo, you know, how could I, I don't think I could have ever done what he, had taken the sort of looked at things the way he did. But he did, you know, he didn't have to ask anybody. Just, he assessed the situation for himself. He said, you know what, I'm going to make something of my life. You know, that's what it's given to me. And I know that. And I think that's admirable. And, but some people, you know, can probably deal with that better than others, I suppose, you know, and that's the way it is.
Well, on that note, I keep getting hung up on this dynamic between you and Aldo. And I think, you know, hearing of these stories and learning of how you and Aldo really did life together for so many years, you pursued a dream together. It makes me think of so much of Kyler and I. And that's why I think we look up to you guys so much. What advice would you give to Kyler and I of being brothers? We're probably 8 years into this, pursuing a dream together, and we have so many more years to go. Could you give us like a piece of advice to be in it for the long haul?
Well, again, there's nothing better in life that if you really enjoy what you're doing, which that in itself, I think, is the core of success, and success breeds more success. If you're enjoying more things, you're very ambitious. There's always something that's going to challenge you, but and anything that's easy, anybody can do. But you want to do something above, and I can see just from learning about your activities, you guys are crazy, So, but that's what melts your butter, and that's what you do, and that's the beauty of it, You just want to think outside the box, and again, when you're in love with something, that's what's going to make you happy, of course. But and you look forward to challenges. As I say, mediocrity is very convenient. I despise that. But the people that have high ambitions always reach for the stars. Even when it seemed impossible, my dreams were. They were beyond what you could ever expect. But you had to go reach for the stars.
Yeah.
And sooner or later, believe it or not, things can happen in that, you can reach your ultimate dreams. I'll give you, for instance, in life, what happened to me just by thinking in those terms, came full circle in so many ways. In here, the dream was cemented, at age 14. In 1955. In 1978, exactly in Monza is where I clinched the world championship.
Wow. So literally the place you first discovered racing is where your dream came full circle.
How could you design that? This past July, I was at the Goodwood Festival, which is Festival of Speed, and I don't know if you're familiar. It's where you'll find probably there's no other event that brings in historic race cars from all the different decades, right up to today. And I, invited there. I mean, it's a great weekend. There's probably 150,000, 200,000 people that attend this. But you got race cars from all over the world that come there. From just people that obviously are passionate about it and so forth. There's many of the race cars that this year especially, they were pretty much celebrating some versatility, if you will. Sure. So there were race cars for me that I drove, from the 70s on, they were there. And if you drive my car, yeah. So you drive on a hill climb, you drive uphill, there's time, you don't really race, especially with anybody, but your run is timed. So anyway, and I drove, at least the more than a dozen cars that I had driven and passed. But here's a car that Alberto Ascari drove in that Grand Prix in 1954.
Wow.
And it's owned by the British gentleman that, they restored that car to unbelievable level. Wow. And there it was, and this gentleman is very jealous of the car. He doesn't allow anybody to drive, just himself. And so he was egged on to let me drive it. And of course he did. And can you imagine me? I was driving the car that Alberto Ascari drove in that race.
That was the spark.
Talking about, yeah. And at age 14, watching that, you think, if I could have ever thought that someday
you'll be in that seat.
That but I have to wait until I'm 80 years old.
Yeah.
But, so these are the things in life, that are just so wonderful. But that's, like I said, whatever your passions are, just pursue it. And I always say, follow your dreams, guys.
That's so good. And Mario, speaking of some of these just fun and almost otherworldly experiences you've had that are very unique to you, is you have you've driven so many just very unique people around for test drives. Some of the people that come to mind are, Lady Gaga and Aaron Rodgers. You've got Steph Curry, Donald Trump. Just so many people. And I would love to hear, do any fun stories come to mind about one of these ride-alongs, maybe that you'll never forget?
Well, there's so many. I think what I love the reactions that you get from different people that have no idea what to expect because our sport is such a non-participant sport in so many ways. Like, you can go to driving school and all that, but you're limited to what you're going to do as far as how fast you're going to go and all that. And this cars that I drive, actually, you can see it right there.
Oh, yeah.
The two-seater there.
That's the two-seater, yeah.
Yeah, that's a two-seater.
And what track does that go out on?
That one right there is at Indianapolis.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you get behind me, and I'll take you for a 200 miles an hour drive, and so you have a different perspective of what it's all about, obviously, and it's a best way that I know to really showcase our sport.
That sounds like a fun day right there.
It's amazing the reaction you get from different people, when they come off, and they certainly always come away with a better, different appreciation for what's going on and different perspective. So again, and there were some where they, we had a couple that lost their cookies along the way, but if you do that, you get to keep the helmet. So there's a caveat on that one too.
Gotcha. There you go. There you go. Put it on the shelf.
So you probably have to ask Amy, my assistant. She's been with me a couple of different tracks, and she would have to express herself as to what she thinks about it.
That sounds thrilling. We were just at the Kyler and I this last weekend were out in Phoenix at the NASCAR Championship.
Oh yeah, man.
We were filming for one of our clients out there, and so that was, I think, actually the first NASCAR race we've been to, and it's a championship race. It was an amazing weekend, and so
I picked Kyle Larson. I picked him.
Did you really?
Oh, yeah.
Well, that was a good pick.
I picked him as a winner.
You nailed it. Yeah.
Well, I've been following him, obviously, and he had such a banner season this year, and he really deserved that, and it looked like this. You talk about a team effort. On the last pit stop, he was fourth, and the team sent him out first. This team had the fastest stop of the entire season of any team that's been recorded, and they sent him out first, and he held on, for the remaining part of the race, which I think were like 17 or 18 laps. Yeah. And basically he did his part, but they certainly did theirs. And you talk about team, he could have never done it any other way if he would have just sent out fourth, like the way he came in fourth. Yeah. There's no way he would have won it. And so these are the beautiful things about when you look back, and how important, when I look back at all the people that contributed, in the success that I've had. And these are friends for life that I have from all over the world. I can walk the pits in Le Mans. I can walk the pits in Monza, anywhere in the world, and in many of these disciplines. I can go to NASCAR. They're friends and mechanics even today that they've touched my life, and it's like you're reuniting with family members. There's a camaraderie there that's to me that's so beautiful. But I know that I didn't do it by myself. That's for sure. And I know that, and I always did.
Wow. Well, that's really special. And, Mario, we want to be sensitive to your time, so we will wrap up here. But I think we would love to leave our listeners with, as if they didn't already get so many nuggets of gold of life advice that they can apply in their lives. I would love to leave them maybe with just one practical piece of advice. If you would recommend everybody who's listening to try one piece of advice this upcoming week in relation to achieving their dreams, what would you say? No pressure.
Well, it's like anything else. I mean, it's not supernatural. I mean, it's something that is natural. It's just, I always say, that pursue whatever melts your butter. I mean, it's something that
I like it.
that's really important to you. I said leave nothing on the table. Just go for it. I mean, because that's what's going to give you the satisfaction. And if you can achieve that, it gives you more encouragement to do, to pursue even more, things that are out of the ordinary. Think outside the box sometimes. And that's it. I always, like I said, I put it on one thing, just follow your dreams. That's all I can say.
Well, that's such a great piece of advice, Mario. And thank you so much for taking the time today to talk with us. Please know that you have deeply inspired Kyler and I. You've given us encouragement, and you've put more fuel in our car to pursue our dreams. So know that that's something that personally I can say I'm taking away from this of, this is going to be a conversation that I'm going to reflect on for a long time and keep us going. And I know it'll be an inspiration to so many others. So thank you so much. And we'll go on from there. So.
Well, I derived a lot from you guys as well, because I can see the passion. I can see just by learning, what you guys have been up to. It's really inspiring, quite honestly. So keep it up. Keep enjoying your life to the limit.
We're going to push those limits. Thank you. A few closing thoughts, guys. First, we're so grateful you took the time to listen today. It really means a lot to us to be able to share our journey with you. Second, if you got any value or inspiration from this episode, please take a minute to leave a rating or review on Apple Podcasts. Lastly, remember, your story matters. So go for it today and live the outbound life.